What we're about to show you is a dynamic warm-up routine that you can use before you set up to hit balls at the driving range or before you go to play a round of golf. Now, if you're like most golfers, we don't really take the time to do an effective warm-up. Now, that's just asking for injury over the long term, and it's not really benefiting our performance or improving our gameplay. At the very least, most of us will do some static stretches before we actually start playing. Now, static stretching is great if you're already warmed up and your body temperature is up to the point where you're sweating. If you're doing it cold, you're actually making the muscles tighter and more resistant to movement. So we're going to teach you 9 different exercises that you can utilize either at the driving range or on the course before you go to play to help loosen up the muscles and get you better prepared to play a great round of golf. And here's how we're going to start. We're going to take a golf club. I'm just using my 5-iron here. It doesn't matter. Club selection is not that important. And first thing I want you to do is go ahead and place the club out, stand up tall, stay in front of you. Brace your hands on top of the club and use the club to stabilize your torso. Now we're going to perform what's called a stork turn. Now we're going to do 10 repetitions of each exercise that I show you. I'm going to go through that whole series twice, and I'll start you off on the first one. So we're starting on our left foot. Club is centered in front of our body. We're going to hook the toe around behind the knee of the weight-bearing leg, and then we're simply going to perform a pelvic rotation. Now I'm not just moving my knee like this. I'm physically rotating my pelvis independently of my torso. I'm going to count out 10. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now what we want to do is give you the sensation of your hips rotating independently of your torso as part of that warm-up routine. So we're going to go ahead and do 10 of those on the other side. So hook your toe and go ahead and rotate the hips, bracing your upper body. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great little separation exercise to get a little bit more flexibility between your pelvis and your torso. Now we're going to use the club. We're going to brace our body, get into our setup posture. Just lean forward slightly, about a 5-iron posture there. Find that neutral pelvis by pulling in your belly button. And then what I want you to do is keep your torso as stable as possible by using the club for support. And we're going to go 10 pelvic rotations. I want to rotate the pelvis independently of the torso, and here's what it's going to look like. A left and a right turn will make 1 rep, so just follow along and do 10 right here with me. 9, 8, we're looking for good rotary motion. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Again, a great little dynamic stretching exercise to help you get a little bit better separation between your torso and your pelvis. Now let's go ahead and turn around 90 degrees. Get in our address posture, again using that club to help us brace our torso. Then what I want you to do to start here, we're going to practice tilting our pelvis to help find that neutral spinal alignment and pelvic alignment that we want to set up when we go to address the ball. And here's what it's going to look like. We're going to tilt that pelvis forward, backward, forward, backward. We're going to do that 10 times without moving the torso or the knees. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's going to help us get a better pelvic tilt when we set up to address the ball. We always want to set up with a neutral spinal alignment. It's going to help loosen up the hip flexors and the low back muscles. So what we're going to do now is build on our hip hinge mechanics. What we're going to do is take the club and place it along the back of your head and your spine. Find that neutral pelvis by closing the gap between the club and the club shaft and your lower back right there. Now try to keep the head in contact with the club, the hips, and the middle of your spine, and we're going to bend the knees slightly, and we're going to hinge forward from our hip sockets, stretch out those hamstrings, and feel what it's like to maintain a neutral spinal alignment while we stretch out the hamstrings, just practicing keeping that neutral spinal alignment as we get into our setup posture. So we're going to go ahead and perform 10 repetitions of this one right here. We're going to do 4 more. 3, 2, again, holding in our belly button. 1, to maintain that neutral spinal alignment, using the club shaft as a little biofeedback mechanism to make sure that we have everything in a straight line from the tailbone to the base of the skull. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to turn and face you right here. Get into our setup posture. We're going to place the club across the back of our shoulders like this and perform what's called a W turn. Okay, so again, we're going to get into our forward flex posture that we use to hit the ball at address. We're going to pull our belly button in. Practice maintaining that neutral spinal alignment we just worked on in the last 2 exercises. And we're simply going to try to keep our pelvis as stable as possible, and we're going to rotate side to side. Left and right is 1. I'm looking straight down at the ground. I'm not turning my head. 8, and I'm trying not to move my pelvis. The belt buckle shouldn't move if you're doing this right. You should try not to lift up out of your posture. You want to maintain it as you rotate through. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now that's going to help give you a bit better separation between your torso and your pelvis. We're getting into a more stable backswing posture by teaching you to hold the pelvis stable as we rotate through. Now what we're going to do is perform what's called a palm up club lift to help get a little bit more length in your lat and maximize the width of your swing, both in the backswing and your follow through. So go ahead and place your hands about shoulder width apart, palms up towards the ceiling or the sky, and then you're simply going to raise the club shaft from the front of your thighs all the way up over your head, reaching up as high as you can, exhaling as you do so. We're going to do 10 of those. 9, 8, exhale on the way up. 7, good work. 6, really try to extend those arms up and behind your head as far as you can. We'll do 4 more. 3, again, practice drawing in that belly button, maintaining that neutral pelvic tilt. 2, and 1. Now we're going to build on that lat lengthening. We're going to add some rotation, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to perform what's called a overhead club press turn. So again, we're going to start by getting into our forward flex posture, making sure we're hinging from our hip sockets. We're maintaining a neutral pelvis and spine. Then we're going to outstretch our arms above our head, reaching out as far as we can. And now what we're going to do is rotate side to side, pressing into the turn, a left and a right being 1 repetition. 6, breathing in each rotation, really reaching up, maintaining the spine angle we set up with. That neutral pelvis and neutral spine are also staying the same and in place. 3 more. 2, and 1. That's going to give you the added benefit of maximizing your lat length to maximize the width of your swing, but also help get you a bit better separation between your torso and your pelvis. Now we're going to do some coordination drills to finish our dynamic warm-up, and here's how we're going to attack that. We're going to do what's called a torso acceleration drill. So I just want you to take the club shaft and place it across your shoulders like this. We're going to start by getting into our forward flex posture. Now what we're going to do is use this club as a reference to make sure that we're maintaining our shoulder plane throughout our shoulder turn. As in, we don't want it to get any less steep or lift up out of our posture, and the club helps us see that. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to start by finding that neutral pelvis, getting the neutral spine set up. We're hinging forward from our hip sockets. And now we're going to perform a backswing. We're going to come down to the impact position and then finish. We're going to do 10 of those. Backswing, finish. Backswing, back to center, finish. Again, I'm not losing that spine angle I set up with the dress, so go ahead and perform 10 of those. Being careful not to lift up out of your posture as we finish up with 2 more exercises here to complete our dynamic warm-up. Now we're going to add 1 more coordination drill to complete the series of 9 different exercises that I'm going to give you to utilize as a warm-up each and every time before you go to hit the ball. Here's the last one. This is called open the gap, close the gap. And I'm going to show you what it looks like from this side so you can see what I'm physically doing. Again, I'm using the club shaft as a reference to make sure I'm not flattening out my shoulder plane, my shoulder turn. If you flatten out, what's going to happen is the club is going to become more parallel to the ground. We don't want that. We want the butt end of the club to be pointing at the same position right out in front of you, right there throughout the entire turn of your golf swing or your warm-up exercise that we're using here. So to open the gap, first we're going to start by finding that neutral pelvis and then maintaining the neutral spine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up to target side and then finish through. Again, we're trying not to lose our posture or flatten out our shoulder plane as we come through with the torso. So we're going to go ahead and do 10 of those. You can follow right along with me. We're going to open the gap, close the gap. 9. Open the gap, close the gap. 8. Open, close. 7. Again, maintaining that spine angle that we set up with at address. 6. Open, close. Keep the butt end of the club shaft pointing at the ground. 5. 4. Breathe into it. 3. 2. And 1. So go through that series twice. Each and every time you go to hit the ball, I think you're going to find yourself a lot more loose when you go to get into the game. And I think you're going to find that it's also pretty challenging because I've broken a sweat out here. Even though it is a hot day, your muscles will definitely be ready for the repetitive impact of the game of golf. So try that for better performance the next time you hit the links.